Modern people fear silence more than noise. We keep music playing, screens glowing, and conversations constant, not because we enjoy it, but because silence feels uncomfortable. Fulton J. Sheen believed this discomfort reveals something deeper. Silence does not threaten the body, but it challenges the soul. When the world grows quiet, we are left alone with our thoughts, our fears, and our unanswered questions. And for many, that inner encounter is more frightening than any external noise. Fulton J. Sheen observed that modern life is built around constant stimulation. Sound fills every space. Notifications interrupt every moment. Entertainment is available at all times. But this noise is not accidental. According to Sheen, people often choose noise because silence forces them to confront what they avoid. Silence removes distractions. It exposes the inner world. When nothing external is speaking, the conscience begins to speak. Questions arise. Who am I? Why am I here? What have I become? For a soul that has not reflected deeply, these questions feel threatening. Noise becomes a shield, not against the world, but against the self. Sheen explained that many people are not afraid of being alone. They are afraid of being alone with themselves. Without music, without conversation, without screens, the mind turns inward. Regrets surface. Restlessness grows. Emptiness becomes visible. Instead of facing these realities, modern culture offers endless distractions. This is why silence feels unnatural today. Not because it is harmful, but because it is unfamiliar. The modern person is trained to consume, not to contemplate. Activity replaces reflection. Stimulation replaces stillness. Over time, the soul forgets how to remain quiet without feeling uneasy. Sheen warned that a life without silence becomes shallow. When the inner world is ignored, the outer world takes control. Opinions replace convictions. Emotions replace truth. The soul becomes reactive instead of reflective. And without reflection, growth becomes impossible. He believed that silence is not empty. It is revealing. In silence, a person meets their true self, not the version presented to others, but the one hidden beneath routine and habit. For those who have neglected their interior life, this encounter feels uncomfortable, even frightening. Modern noise is often mistaken for connection, but noise cannot replace meaning. It can only postpone the questions that silence eventually asks. Fulton J. Sheen believed that silence becomes uncomfortable because it reveals what noise hides. When external sounds fade, the soul begins to speak. This inner voice does not shout. It does not entertain. It asks questions that demand honesty. In silence, a person becomes aware of their inner conflicts. The gap between who they are and who they were meant to be becomes clearer. Conscience awakens, not to accuse but to guide. Yet guidance requires humility, and humility is difficult for a world trained to avoid weakness. Sheen explained that silence exposes the hunger of the soul. Humans were not created only to consume, produce, and entertain themselves. They were created to seek truth, love, and meaning. When these deeper desires are ignored, the soul becomes restless. Silence brings this restlessness to the surface. This is why many people describe silence as heavy. It is not heavy because it is empty, but because it is full of unexamined thoughts, buried memories, and unanswered longings. The mind feels the weight of its own depth. Sheen also warned that silence confronts people with their relationship with God. In noise, God can be ignored. In silence, his absence or presence becomes noticeable. For those who have drifted from prayer, silence can feel like distance. For those who seek him, silence becomes a meeting place. Modern culture teaches people to fill every gap. Waiting is avoided. Stillness is replaced. But Sheen believed that growth happens in these quiet spaces. Without silence, the soul remains surface level. It becomes informed but not transformed. Silence also reveals the limits of control. Without distraction, a person realizes how little they command their own thoughts, emotions, and desires. This awareness can feel unsettling, but it is also the beginning of inner freedom. According to Sheen, silence does not harm the soul, it heals it. The discomfort people feel is not a warning sign, it is an invitation to face reality, to accept truth, and to begin the work of the interior life. Fulton J. Sheen believed that silence is not something to escape, but something to enter. The modern world treats stillness as weakness, yet the soul was designed to grow in quiet. Without silence, life becomes reactive. With silence, life becomes intentional. Sheen taught that silence is where clarity is formed. When the noise fades, priorities become visible. What once felt urgent loses its power. What truly matters begins to rise. In stillness, a person learns to distinguish between impulse and conviction, between desire and purpose. He insisted that silence is essential for prayer. Prayer is not merely speaking to God, but listening, and listening requires space. When the heart is constantly filled with sound it cannot receive, silence opens the soul to something greater than itself. Sheen also believed that silence restores inner strength. A person who never pauses becomes fragmented. Their thoughts scatter, their emotions lead. But when one learns to remain still, the soul regains its center. Peace does not come from controlling the world, but from ordering the interior life. The discomfort of silence fades with practice. What once felt heavy becomes grounding. What once felt empty becomes meaningful. The soul learns to rest without escaping. It learns to exist without distraction. Sheen warned that a society afraid of silence is a society afraid of truth. Noise hides reality. Silence reveals it. And only what is revealed can be healed. The path back to peace does not require more stimulation, more information, or more entertainment. It requires courage. The courage to be still, to listen, and to face the deeper questions of life. In silence, the soul remembers who it is.